Hello, my name is Stephen Wines and I'm the Chief Executive of GoTrain. Thanks very much for joining us. I am going to take you through a brief corporate introduction to GoTrain. To start off with, I'd like to talk about a learner who came to us called Jessica. This is a quotation directly from Jessica, and I think it's really relevant because it points out, I think, what we try to do at GoTrain, what makes us special, and the impact that you will have on people's lives. I've highlighted a few key points in Jessica's statement because I think they illustrate perfectly what is possible for a learner to achieve with the support of all the good people who are working for GoTrain. The first thing you'll see is that Jessica came to us because she was crying, she had no confidence, and she thought her options were very limited. She's anxious and unhappy with her current state. She comes to GoTrain, she's referred by the Job Centre, our major referral partner from whom 80% of our referrals come, and within 1 week, a very short period, she's gaining confidence, she's applying for jobs, and she realises that the barriers that she perceives that she has to work, which in this instance are childcare, she's probably a lone parent I think, aren't really barriers because she's identified solutions. And it's interesting that she says she's identified those solutions, so we've facilitated that and supported that in her, and she's removed them. She has a job. She's achieved that fantastic transition, and the impact of that transition is life-changing, not just for her, but also for her and her children. She concludes she's going to be better off, and better off, I guess, means better off financially, but actually it's all those other ancillary benefits in terms of self-confidence, security, feelings of self-worth, confidence, that we have supported her, and we've supported her achieving those through training and the ISP journey, which I'm going to talk to you about later. At this point, I think it's good to take a minute just to realise that what you're coming to join is an organisation that exists commercially, but also has a much wider social enterprise and social impact. And if you're going to do something with your life, what a great thing to do, and how proud you can feel about changing people's lives, like Jessica and her children, for the better. I wanted to introduce you to the directors and the senior team at GoTrain. That's me on the left. I'm the chief exec. I'm responsible for the strategy and the overall performance of GoTrain, the values that we have, and I am supported in those efforts by the Chief Financial Officer, Andy Kemp, who is one of the founding directors of GoTrain, and his colleague David Amos, who's our Chief Commercial Officer, who's also one of the founding directors of GoTrain. Andy looks after, as his title suggests, the finances. David is responsible for the ongoing commercial development of GoTrain, raising our profile with government, with referral partners, with other influential bodies. Stephen Bell on the left is our Director of Business Development. His responsibility is twofold. It's to engage with other funding sources for us, either direct from government, from the European Social Fund, from the Education Skills Funding Agencies, or with referral partners, or with business partners like colleges, charities, councils, the LEPs. He's also responsible for employer engagement, talking to local employers, aligning our skills delivery with the local needs of employers to ensure that we can build a bridge between what employers need and what our learners have to develop to take advantage of those local opportunities. Graham Clues, to Stephen's right, is our Chief Operating Officer. Graham is responsible for delivery, quality, for performance, for IT and infrastructure. In particular, he has specific responsibility for standards, quality and compliance, and Ofsted. And to Graham's right is Joanna White, who's our Finance Director, who's responsible for ensuring that we budget and meet our financial projections. All the directors sit on a board. The board meets monthly, and it's chaired by our non-executive chairman, Julian Harley. Julian Harley has 30-40 years experience of education. He is a non-executive, which means that his responsibilities are wider than the simple business performance of GoTrain. He's also looking at corporate governance and to make sure that we are always acting with the interests of our customers and abide by the high standards of probity and good corporate behaviour. GoTrain's mission statement: transforming lives by improving skills, preparing for jobs and building careers. It's always difficult to step back and say, yeah, actually I'm involved in the life transformation business. It sounds a little bit insincere. It sounds a little bit too good to be true. But actually, let's think back at Jessica. I think it's pretty fair to say we have supported Jessica in transforming her life. And that's what we do. So when you are in those dark times, when audit is getting on top of you, when there's too much paperwork, where one particular learner is being challenging, please try to remember that you are in the life transformation business, because it will keep you going. And actually, again, if you're going to do anything, I suppose transforming somebody's life has a greater impact than, I don't know, maybe selling them shampoo. How do you do that? You help them to improve their skills, preparing themselves for a job, but more than a job also, it's a career. And skills, I think skills is really the widest sense of the word. It doesn't just mean vocational training or functional skills training in IT and maths or whatever. It also means, I think, life skills. That's increasingly the case because we see learners come to us from more challenging demographics, and I think that the skills delivery that we do has to reflect that. So, a few more sources of inspiration. I think, again, I want to go back to the words of our learners. These are all quotations from learners that we've gathered in the last month or two. James and Herne Bay, I like the succinctness of what he says. He says that every time he does a course with us, he always gets interviews and a job. So James is very focused on what he wants, and we deliver on that. Elizabeth, who's working as a care assistant, describes coming to us as being the best decision of her life, which is very gracious of her. She's very grateful to the staff, and I think the belief that our staff have shown in her, and that's really important, and I'll come on to that a bit later, because a lot of the time, if perhaps you've been out of work for 6 months or even 3 years, and many of our learners, perhaps a quarter of them, have been out of work for 3 years or more, there is a tendency to feel dehumanized, processed, perhaps lacking in self-worth. And I think the respect that we show people and the belief that we show people gives an environment for that kind of change, that kind of paradigm shift, where self-belief replaces anxiety. Aisha, who's a store manager now, took an IT course with us, and she too says it was life-changing. She was a 44-year-old divorced single mum. She was out of work for 5 years, a long time, certainly something which can really affect your self-confidence. And she didn't feel part of society. She felt locked out, even though for 20 years she'd been a manager. So the cruelty of that is something which really is poignant for me. And what does the IT course do for her? It gives her belief again. Again, they're all very succinct, and they say at the heart of them what we do and what you're joining. So what are you joining? Well, GoTrain now has 17 high street accessible centres across Kent, Essex and London. We're also expanding into the Midlands and Birmingham and into Wiltshire and Swindon. And those centres are, as I said earlier, high street. They're accessible, they're not schools, they're adult environments where learners can come, where they won't be judged. They're very easy to get transportation to, and that I think is a unique part of GoTrain's offering. We deliver 25,000 qualifications every year, and they all are accredited by the examples you can see there. What that means is that about 9,000 people, because the average number of courses that a learner will take with us is 2.7, are supported on their journey back to work. And it is a journey, so people won't necessarily move from being out of work, possibly long term, to in work in a matter of weeks. Maybe there'll be a progression there between perhaps where they are to then gaining more confidence, more self-belief, and then being in a position where they can then think about applying for work. And that journey is critical, and how we support that journey I will come on to later on in this presentation. Just to give you an idea of the history, we started in '92 with our first centre in Gravesend, the centre we're still in. 10 years later, we were awarded our first government contract. Before then, we were a pitman training organisation, delivering our IT and office qualifications. By 2012, so 10 years after that, we had grown to 7 centres and 80 staff. In 2016, we were awarded our first contract directly from government. Before then, we had been subcontracting from other large providers like colleges, like Learn Direct, but we had then grown, perhaps, or outgrown that model, and we wanted to deal directly with the Education Skills Funding Agency. That then allowed us to grow even more rapidly, and by 2018 we employed nearly 200 staff, and we had 17 centres, as I said earlier, and we're growing. 2019, the plans are to open centres permanently in Birmingham. We are doing a small amount of delivery there at the moment. To expand further into London, we've signed a very exciting deal with Tower Hamlets, Swindon, where we are working with a college to deliver in Wiltshire. We're investing heavily in IT and infrastructure. We're ensuring that our delivery is aligned with local enterprise partnership priorities in London, the South East. That means that we're looking at priority recruitment areas, priority employment areas, priority geographies where there is a need for support, and looking at priority demographics, particular groups of people 50 plus, lone parents, women underrepresented in certain industries, to support them into work. There's also an interesting devolution exercise where the adult education budget is being devolved in London and in Birmingham. Multiple contracts now support GoTrain's delivery. We no longer are over-reliant on one contract, one target group, one revenue stream. We have multiple contracts. You can see them all there. I haven't counted them. I think there must be 10 at least. You can see, broadly speaking, there's our direct contract. There's a contract that we have for delivery of the National Career Service, and you will find out more about that later. Plus a lot of contracts with colleges and housing associations as well. So what drives us? Well, I suppose the most important thing that we have as an organisation is the people. The world of training is as people-centric as you can possibly have. We're talking about trainers, tutors, administrative staff, learners, employers, support staff in Maidstone, people who are all working on supporting other people to learn and progress. The product that we have is the learning and support that we transfer to our customers to support them on their journey. I guess what we deliver is the transfer of knowledge, enthusiasm, belief, and I talked earlier about a sort of paradigm shift. What we're doing is, I think, replacing some of the negativity that learners might have when they come to us with a lot more positivity. Now, people are very interesting, and one of the most interesting things about them is the ideas that they have. And I always say that I'd like GoTrain to be an ideas-driven organisation. I want us to be innovative, creative. To do that, I want you to be noisy. If you have a great idea, if you can think of a better way of doing something or an innovative way of doing something, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Share it with your manager, share it with your colleagues, and share it with me. I'm not arrogant enough to assume that all the best ideas come from the boardroom. They absolutely don't. They come from the ground up, because your experience, your real life experience dealing with our learners, our customers, our referral partners, your colleagues, are that's invaluable. Another one of our values is customer service. I spoke about the fact that we need to treat all our learners with respect, that many come to us feeling they've been processed, dehumanized, which is not a criticism of the system, it's just a criticism perhaps of what happens to you while you're in the system. And we need to give them back their self-belief and make sure they feel valued and worthwhile. So that's a very important part of what we do. Customer service, though, also means working with our internal customers. So you need to work well with your colleagues. There needs to be service level agreements internally in terms of quality, audit, training, paperwork, human resources, payment, etc. We need to respect each other and understand that we only function if we interact effectively as a team. Finally, we are a commercial organisation, so we deliver training, support, progression, but we also deliver a profit. If we don't deliver a profit, then we can't continue to deliver the life-changing skills delivery that we do. I think that need to make a profit is good because it gives us a commercial edge, it makes us agile, it keeps us open to new opportunities, because actually innovation is one of the things that makes an organisation like ours thrive. And actually, what a great thing you do, what a great way of making a living. I said earlier before, slightly jokingly, that shampoo is important, but it can change your hair. What we do can change your life. So let's just talk a little bit about something I mentioned earlier, ISP. This is what underpins what I call our skills to work vision. The ISP model we formalised a year or so ago, and it comprises 3 stages, if you like, 3 activities that we undertake to support learners in their journey. The first is IAG, the second skills delivery, and the third progression, and I'll flesh those out a bit later on. From a learner's perspective, that's what we do for them. They don't need to know the funding streams that underpin this. They don't need to know the details of the IT, the HR, the infrastructure, the curriculum development that underpins this. What they want is the end result. So the ISP model that we have is supported by National Career Service, NCS, AEB, the Adult Education Budget, and ESF, the European Social Fund, contracts that we hold, and other contracts too, but learners aren't interested in that. What they want is the end result. And from our perspective, that's what we need to track. We need to track the progress of every learner from engagement, from the IAG that we deliver, to sustained employment, and after we get them into employment, to supporting them in work as well, keeping them at work, and helping them to progress. So a little bit more about ISP. Effectively what we're saying is we're putting the learner first. Actually, everything that we do should be to support learners to progress. If you're in doubt about how to act appropriately, reflect and say, is what I'm doing the right thing to support a learner's progress? If it is, go ahead and do it. In order to facilitate that progress, we have a delivery model which has 3 phrases, ISP. I stands for IAG, Information, Advice and Guidance. This is delivered by our careers and careers advisors. Effectively what we're doing is we're sort of triaging learners as they come in. We're trying to understand what their aspirations are, what the opportunities are that they exist for them, what the barriers are that they may face, the challenges that they have, which may be skills related but could be a lot wider, could be to do with housing or addiction or care responsibilities, a whole load of, a whole raft of other considerations, giving a full picture of a learner and how we can support them to maximise their talents and really achieve their aspirations. That's the IAG. So if you know where somebody's starting out, then you know the best way that you can support them on their journey and how you can get them to their end goal effectively. How do we do that? Well, we do it by skills delivery, but as I said before, the definition of skills, which is the S, is a wide one. It's vocational training which is linked to local enterprise partnership priority areas, so warehousing, distribution, retail, customer service, hospitality, digital skills, etc. But also IT skills, functional skills, English and maths, which underpin an awful lot of work. But in the wider sense, we're also talking about life skills. What does that mean? Well, it means motivation, confidence, goal setting, independence. Those skills are much wider than simple vocational skills, but they're part of the package. Together, what we do is we support learners to progress. That progression means moving to the next step in a learner's journey. Now that could be nothing to do with employment. It could be building self-confidence or getting someone's mindset right so they can get out of bed, they can travel to an interview, or they can just simply travel to do their training. Ultimately though, what we're helping to do is support learners in the next step in their journey, which could be into employment, into an apprenticeship, or into further study. All the time though, we're supporting somebody progressing. So that's ISP, IAG, skills delivery and progression. And here's a graph to show how learners do progress with us. And actually this is looking at progression in sort of the softer skills. We talked about Jessica right at the start of this presentation. She talked about the progress she made in a week. Here's an illustration of what happens to most learners in a week. This is a chart which graphs the improvement in the skill areas you can see at the bottom in 1 week. And you can see that people improve by about 10 or 20% in terms of how they feel about themselves in a week. So in a very rapid period, and often from a very challenging beginning, we achieve very rapid progress. And if you look across the bottom, you can see people feel better about themselves, ready to take on new opportunities, able to work with other people as a team to achieve things, resilience, they don't give up, confidence grows, and they feel positive about their future as a result, all in a week. All our delivery is suffused with these values and behaviours. So all our courses embed these 5 key employability values in them. They are motivation, willingness to take on new opportunities, comfort with change, interpersonal skills, which is working with others, resilience to overcome setbacks, to try again, to deal with the inevitable knockbacks that you will experience, a sense of self-esteem, so you realise your own worth and you feel good about yourself, and then time management, reliability, the appropriate behaviours for getting back to work. And those 5 values are key to all our delivery. They're embedded in all our values, they're embedded in all our teaching and learning, and we want you to become great ambassadors for those values too, because they will really support our learners in their progress. To evidence what we achieve in terms of progression into employment, Stephen Bell and his team engage with nearly 250 employers. You can see a list of some of the larger ones there on the right hand side, but actually we work with small and medium-sized enterprises too, and we support learners to progress to jobs with those learners, those employers, in a number of different ways, through PETS, which stands for pre-employment training, for SUBWAs, sector-based work academies, and you'll learn more about that later on, through jobs fairs which are held in our training centres, and also through supported job search. So we have lots of PCs available in our centres, and learners, when they have downtime, are encouraged to research and make applications with the support of their tutors to find work. It's one of our key success measures. We need to record every progression that we achieve. On some contracts, like the European Social Fund contracts, this is has a financial impact as well, but on others it's purely a success measure. Current progression into employment rates are between 28 and 48% tracked. That means that we can speak to learners to establish they have progressed. We can't speak to everybody. We probably speak to about a third of our learners. So what we do is we extrapolate and we say, well, if we assumed there was a similar progression rate across all our learners, what would that mean? And we think it's between 60 and 70% actually who progress from learning into employment, which I think is something to be proud of, particularly since, as I said before, 25% of our learners have been out of work for 6 months, but the other 75% have been out of work for a year or more. Soft data. We survey our learners every week, and we ask them how they found the course. Some of the feedback is given here. You can see that what they like is the fact that the centres are welcoming, positive, and adults only. As an environment, it's somewhere they feel good, it's somewhere they don't feel isolated, and it's somewhere they feel they can achieve their potential. Also, and this is very important, you will have heard of safeguarding. You're doing separate safeguarding training, but our learners feel safe. It's important they feel safe, and also that they know if they don't feel safe, they have someone they can talk to. 4% of our learners feel supported by their tutor, and they feel they're helped improved, and ultimately then they feel they've been helped to progress. Now those are all really positive scores. It's important that we reflect on those, and again the good work that the whole team does in supporting learners to progress. We celebrate those progressions in a monthly newsletter. This comes out every month. It's hosted on our website. It's also distributed to every manager in the business, so they will be sharing that with you in the organisation. And again, what we celebrate here is learner success. Great stories about people who found work, who've gained confidence, who have improved their life chances through the support of GoTrain. And every month I work to produce these with our marketing department, and it's circulated to the board, it's circulated to referral partners, and it's incredibly moving to see the positive impact that what you do will have on people's lives. Well, thanks for listening, and I hope that has given you a flavour of GoTrain, our values, our vision, and the importance that we place upon supporting our learners to progress. I will be meeting you soon. I try to visit every centre at least once a month, normally on a Thursday or Friday. It's vital that I do. I think it's really important that I can see firsthand the good work that you and your colleagues are doing. Please enjoy yourselves, and as I said before, you are joining an organisation which really makes a difference, and you are going to be doing something incredibly worthwhile, and I think you can feel very proud and satisfied about what you'll be doing to support people to progress and have a brighter future. Thank you.